So for this video, we are going to look at the week 8 problems, numbers 1 to 5. We're going to do 5 of them. I really kind of just want to cover the main concept here. This is a review because really what we're dealing with is ratios and proportions. So for 1 to 5, we're going to essentially just set up ratios and solve for missing values. When we are reading the word problems, you want to extract out the important information that you need. So some of the key things you're going to be looking for would be like actual dimensions as compared to a model's dimensions. Or maybe it would be the actual compared to a toy's dimensions, or the actual dimensions compared to a sculpture's dimensions. Okay, so those are the key measurements you want to pull out for your ratios. To set up your ratios, you could also be looking within the same shape, the dimensions of the smaller to the dimensions of the bigger. So that would be something else that you would look for. And then the last kind of big picture concept would be similar solids have the same ratio. And we talked about similar triangles having the same side-to-side ratio. So this isn't new either. All right, so those are the main concepts that we're going to use for 1 to 5. I created an example problem just to use kind of for you to think through how to do this. So you will get a word problem, but what you really need when you read these word problems is to pull out the important information. So let's say you have a word problem. This is what you need to pull out of it. So you're looking for the model's dimensions and you're looking for actual dimensions. And you also want to see where do you have the same kind of dimension. So for this problem, we read the word problem and we see that the model's height is 5 inches. The actual height is 27 inches. And then they also tell us that the model's length, so here this was height, now we're at length. The model's length was 7 inches. And the actual length, that's what we're trying to find. So when I set up the ratio here, I'm going to put my actual numbers in the numerator and the model numbers in the denominator. Now, as you might remember when you've done ratios, it's more than one way to set this up. So you could put the model in the numerator and the actual in the denominator, but I'm going to do actual over model. So I want to look and see, okay, so for my actual, I'm going to look at my height. I have 27 over my model height, which is 5. So for this, I'm focusing on my height. So I have actual over model. And then I want to look at my length. So my length for this, the actual goes in the numerator. That's what I don't know. So I'm going to just call that X. And then my model length is going to be 7. Okay? So for both of these, it's actual over model. For this, I've set up height here and length here. Like I said before, there are about 3 different ways you could do this. This is just one way to do it. So then I just wanted to do a quick refresher on when we solve for X here, we want to cross multiply. So that gives us 5X is equal to 189. And then we're going to divide both sides by 5. And our answer would be X is equal to 37.8 inches. That would be our actual length. So what I would like for you to do now is work problems 1 to 5 in those practice problems. I want you to pause the video and just work them on your own and see how you do. And I do need you to remember that everyone's going to set these ratios up differently. There are lots of different ways you can set them up. But the answers are there, so just check them. If you get them right, then I think you set them up right. So you should have worked the problems. If you were having trouble with any of them, now I am going to go ahead and video how I work them out so that you can use that as a resource if you need it. And again, remember, you may have set up your ratios differently than I did. Here is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Here you have to set up 2 different ratios to find your length and your height. For number 5, this one asks you which figures are similar.
So remember for that, you're setting up your fractions, your ratios, and then you want to see that they equal the same thing. So I reduce all of these and they're all equal to 2/3. Here, when I reduce the fractions I set up, I see that they're not all the same, so it's not similar. And on this one, when I set up my fractions, it was just messy and they wouldn't have come out to, I don't know. I just put them in my calculator and looked at them as decimals, because you can do that as well. You could use decimals on any of those too. So that was number 5.
All right, so that's going to be it for problems 1 to 5 on your week 8 practice problem sets.